he says the name of a girl in a different department of the company, without the slightest hint of guilt in his voice. She had been hired at the same time as me, and she looked so pretty that even I wanted to wrap my arms around her. Compared to her, I was taller and more ordinary-looking. I couldn't understand why he'd even consider getting involved with me when he was going out with someone as pretty as she was. When I asked him, he said they'd been together for 2.5 years. In other words, they'd been together even longer than we had. Of course, I had no idea that he was with anyone else. I never suspected it. I never considered the possibility. We'd kept our relationship a secret at the office, but I had just assumed that was to avoid making things awkward for others at work. Yet from the very beginning, I was never his first choice. I was just someone to fool around with. How did I not realize that? Either I was slow, or there was something off about him. Anyway, the two of them had already met each other's parents. The engagement gifts would be done next month. I felt dizzy. It was as if a monk had rung a temple bell inside my head. I could almost hear the gong. So having the wedding in June would be great, right? But she didn't ask, and now, of course, it's too late for this year, which is why... I sat there in a daze, listening to the words coming out of his mouth. Then I muttered, "Oh, that's good." Even I was surprised by what I'd said. "Oh, thanks. But you know we can still see each other sometimes," he said with a big smile. It was his usual smile. How sporting of him. He didn't have a care in the world. In a melodrama, this would have been my moment to get up and throw my wine in his face. But I'd never been good at expressing my feelings like that. It's only once I'm alone, mulling things over, that I can figure out what on earth I'm really feeling. And besides, the temple bell ringing inside my head was getting too loud to think. Still in a daze, I said goodbye to him and went back to my apartment alone. And when I finally regained my presence of mind, I felt a sudden wave of grief come over me. Far more than anger, I felt grief. A grief that was so violent, so intensely palpable, that I felt like I could reach out and touch it. Tears poured from my eyes. It felt like they would never stop. But no matter how much I cried, I couldn't seem to get a hold of myself. I hadn't even turned on the lights. I just collapsed in the middle of the room, sobbing. The dumb thought popped into my head that if only all these tears were oil, I'd be rich. But it was so dumb that it made me cry more. Someone help me, I thought to myself. I was serious. But I couldn't raise my voice. I couldn't do anything but cry. After that, it was just one awful thing after another. Because we worked in the same office, I had to keep seeing him no matter how much I hated it. And he kept contacting me as much as ever, which was excruciating. And to make things worse, I was always running into his fiancée in the break room and the cafeteria. Whenever it happened, she would greet me with this radiant smile. And I couldn't tell whether or not she knew about us. Before long, my stomach refused to take in any food. I couldn't sleep at night. My weight dropped precipitously. And, despite my attempts to hide it with makeup, my complexion became so pale that I looked like a corpse. In the middle of work, tears would come streaming down my face. I cried so many times, hiding inside a stall in the bathroom, muffling the sound of my sobbing. After 2 weeks of this, I'd reached my limit.